You're listening to Your Purpose and Business podcast, where we connect you to possibilities. I'm your host, Raquel Walters, a two-time best-selling author, millennial speaker, corporate trainer, advocate, and clinical social worker at heart. Your Purpose and Business podcast will connect you with everyday successful people who will share their impactful stories, insights, challenges, failures, and triumphs on how they're navigating the working world, whether by climbing the 9-to-5 corporate ladder or starting, growing, and scaling their business. So grab your pen and notebook because you'll want to implement the nuggets and tools, strategies shared in every episode. Class is in session. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Your Purpose and Business podcast. And I'm here with Mrs. Donae Buabeng. So Donae Buabeng is a wife and a mom to two bubbly personalities. She's also a pharmacist, author, and blogger of a parenting website, Mommy2Be and Beyond.com. Her journey to discovering who she is started after leaving a career as a pharmacist behind. She realized that after having struggled with her identity and career for some time, she wanted to rediscover what God had initially planned for her to do. Fast forward today, she is so much happier with the life that she has now compared to 3 years ago. She now loves what she does and wants others to experience the same. She wrote a book called I Am Who God Says I Am. Always be inspired to live the life God has planned for you, based on her struggles for years with her identity. She wanted to fit in with the world, but when she did so, she felt even more lost in the shuffle. Years later, after having gone through a tough journey in her life and career as a pharmacist, she realized that she hated everything about her life at that point. She says, I just wanted to be free from it. She went on a personal journey to discover more about herself and found out her passions. She took that knowledge and started a journey of discovering herself, which led her to the conclusion that she is a writer. This is Donae Buabeng. Welcome to the Your Purpose and Business podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on with you.
It's a pleasure to have you on as well. And Donae, before we dive in, I ask everyone this, like, tell us something about yourself that's not included in this lovely bio of yours.
Oh, wow. This is actually my first podcast interview. So I'm actually thrilled to even be here doing this, at this point in my life. I'm also an introvert. I'm not usually the one before the camera, but now it's kind of like I'm seeing God kind of pushing me in a new direction. So it's exciting to, start doing podcasts and interviews and seeing a little bit of my introverted side get a little bit out. So, I'm so thankful and grateful for you to actually have me on your show as my first podcast interview. So thank you very much.
I love it. You're so welcome. And please, you're a professional, and how God is amazing. He's elevating you. He's pushing you even further into your purpose, which leads me, Donae, to asking you this question, because in reading your bio, you started out by saying that you went into a career field of becoming a pharmacist, and you sort of pivoted because then you realized that this probably was not meant for me anymore, and that's okay. But now you're going towards or leaning in to that passion of yours. And so is it safe to ask you, what purpose do you believe you have in this world at this very moment?
So after my journey of discovery, I found out that my purpose is actually to help others to rediscover their own lives and to kind of help them to find what it is that they're called to, and to encourage them to move closer into their own purpose and destiny with God, just taking it one step at a time.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So Donae, I'm going to be asking some questions because the audience would love to know, because, you're on a Your Purpose and Business podcast, right? Mm-hmm. And you're also a millennial, if I'm correct. Am I correct with that?
Yes.
So we were told, a lot of us,
you go to school, you get your degree, you get a good job, you save up, you have your family, you have your children, and then you retire, and that is life, right? And
Yes.
so at what point, in that discovery of yourself, did that thought come about? If you could share with the audience about, okay, this career is no longer for me. And what did that look like? Were you freaked out? Were you scared? How did you address it? And then, of course, we know the end. You became a writer and you pivoted. But walk us through the thoughts that kind of came at the forefront of your mind when you realized that, you know what, I no longer wanted to do this.
So earlier in my journey, I mean, I pretty much wrote this book, I Am Who God Says I Am. It was based on my own personal struggles for years with my identity. So it started at that point. I was this, I don't remember, skinny, lanky kid and never quite fit in growing up. And so I always tried to fit in with the world and everything that the world had to offer. But every time I did so, I kind of like felt lost even more in the shuffle of it and everything. So years later, kind of after going through like a tough journey in my life and career as a pharmacist, I kind of realized that I hated everything about my life at that point, and I just wanted to be free of it because I kind of built my life around fitting in. You know, when we try to do everything that everybody tells us, oh, you have to be this person, a doctor, lawyer, or, you know, to kind of fit that career or role. So for me, I chose that because I was also struggling with my own identity, like trying to, you know, wanting everybody to love you. So I kind of chose that pharmacist career because I thought it would make me, you know, more invincible. Like, oh, it would take all the pressure off my self-esteem, you know, picking this degree, this doctoral degree, and I would be, you know, more confident in myself. But I chose it, I did that. And when I got to that point, I still shuffled. I still was lost. I still didn't know who I was. So it was just like this turning point where, okay, so I did all of this. I did everything that the world wanted me to do to try and fit in and to be this person that, okay, I achieved it. But then when I got there, I hated. I was so miserable in it. And then it was just at that point, we all have this breaking moment where we're in a career, in a lifestyle that is just not for us. And we get to that point, and I was at that point where I was like, Lord, I don't like this. I hate this career. And the thing about the career, when I became a mom, it got even a lot tougher because the career demanded so much of my time. It's kind of one of those careers where you have to be there. It's like 10-hour shift, 12-hour. For me, it was working from 3 p.m. in the afternoon until 2 a.m. in the morning. So when I had kids, it was tough trying to manage motherhood and at the same time doing this career. And on top of it, we have the student loans. So we're like, it's kind of like we're in debt to this career because on top of it, we have to also pay back our debt to you know, pay back our debt for the career that we chose. So then it was just too much going on at that time. And then I think I had that point where I'm like, Lord, I can't do this anymore. I hate it. I hate everything about my life at that point. And I just wanted to kind of like break free from it. So I went on this personal journey to kind of discover more about who I was, and I found out my passions. And then I took that knowledge and then I started a new journey of kind of like discovery for myself, which led to the conclusion now that, you know, I was a writer. And it's funny because growing up when we were in high school, I had excellent grades in the arts, in English literature and English, but yet I chose sciences because of course it's like, oh, you have to, you know, choose this career, whether it be a doctor or a lawyer. So I said, okay, I'll go on that path, even though my grades weren't as nice as the ones in art. So it's kind of that you know what you're passionate about. These things show when you're even in high school, but it's because we're trying to always identify with the world and to fit in, you know, with our culture and our society. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it kind of,
Absolutely, absolutely. And you said something there, trying to fit in, so many of us has tried to fit in different areas of our lives, right? And especially when, you're growing up and you're taught from, society, from, loved ones, these career has a certain esteem and status that comes with it, and so you look to, okay, the status, the money behind it, and oftentimes, don't get me wrong, those things are great, but a lot of times, and I can echo that as well, there's a lot of times when there's many people that have gone into certain fields and have realized that this is not what I want to do. And I really want to say that is okay. So I want to lend you some grace. It is okay. People do it all the time, and so because it's really important that it is said, because if you don't try something, you're not gonna know if you like it or not. And I want to applaud you too, Donae, because it takes courage. It takes courage
yes, it
to
does.
get up after all these years, sacrifices, studying, all of that, to say that, you know what, God, this is not what I want anymore. I thought I wanted it. I probably liked it for a while, then I hated it, but then I'm gonna pivot. And it takes a lot of courage, because a lot of people are still working jobs or in careers, in professions that they're miserable, and they just can't see a way out to pivot and to start over again. And so I'm happy that you shared that, because then it empowers so many other people to look within their own lives to say, okay, what about my life I'm not happy about, and what do I want to change? And it doesn't necessarily always have to be career. It could be relationships, friendships, right? It could be trying to become more healthier. But
Yes.
you said something important where, and I want you to speak even more to that, when you realized that you had a gift for writing, and that sort of brought out your creative side. And so speak to that, if you will, about that creative side, because my recollection, and this is a side note, guys, I've been knowing Donae since we were children. And so Donae is sort of like a sister, and her sisters, so to my family, to my sisters, and to me. And so speak to that creative side, because I know that you from my recollection, we're into like music, drama, arts, my memory is correct. And I didn't realize about the writing, to be honest. So speak to that for me, please.
Wow. So where did I begin with writing? It's surprising. I'm still even shocked myself that even though, yes, I know in high school I did better in arts, but I never really thought anything about it. It's like, oh, it's arts, you know. But surprisingly, it's that pause that I took after like leaving pharmacy and telling her, okay, I'm done with this, or what's next? You know, what the big what's next? What is there? And then it was kind of like I've always had I was always passionate about writing. Like I've always wrote stories and did like different things, poetry. I used to do those little things, and but I never really put it in perspective that, hey, I had that gift, or I had that talent. So it was later on, after the whole personal journey and discovery, that the Lord kind of revealed it, and on top of him revealing it, he was saying, for some reason, I had written down a book, the name of this part of a book. I had written it down like about 3 years ago. I wrote the book down, but I just sat and And I didn't really think anything about it. But, you know, in the last couple of years, like recently, the Lord was like, okay, take up that book and write it again. Take it up. And I'm like, but I can write. I don't know, am I a writer? Like, it's like, you're conversing and you're like, okay, yeah, you are a writer. Take up that book and write it. So I literally sat and I said, you know what? Let me write this book, because it was 3 years. I had that title, I had everything. I started it, but then, you know, you kind of doubt it. No, I don't know if this is me, you know. I've never done any big projects in writing before, so I doubt it. And then I just left it there. So taking it up was actually a big challenge for me to just actually, you know, take the book up again and just write it. And then when I started writing it, was then I just realized, okay, then, you know, there's more to it than I thought. Like, I do have a gift of writing. And blogging too was the same thing. I like, blogging, I don't know, is it for me? Let me try it and see. And then I started started my website and everything in mommytv.com. And then I just started writing, and it just came out, it just flowed, like you're just writing and everything just flowing. And then I just love doing it. And so I kept going at it and doing it and writing and writing and writing until, you know, it was just who I was. And I became more, you know, confident with writing. And I just love it. Like, I'm excited to get up and write that new blog post or write something inspirational. It's just, you know, a part of me and who I am right now.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so tell us a little bit more about your book, I Am Who God Says I Am. Always be inspired to live the life God has planned for you.
Okay, so I wrote this book, I Am Who God Says I Am. So it was all based on my own personal struggles for years, you know, with my identity, wanting to fit in with the world. And when I did so, you know, kind of feeling more lost in the shuffle. So as I said before, years later, you know, after going through that tough journey in my life as a carer and a pharmacist, I realized that I hated everything, you know. So after the personal journey of discovery and trying to learn more about who I was, and I found out my passions, then I kind of just took that, you know, knowledge and just started kind of like a new discovery journey for myself of discovery. And you know, which led to the conclusion that I was a writer. So the book actually goes through my entire story, you know, from the beginning of time, I would say, from back in the days from high school. And you can see how my identity, how I struggled with that for years. And then every time I tried to fit in, I tried to fit in. And then I went to college and it was a different experience again. And I went from trying to fit in, being bullied in high school, to now being popular overnight. It was just so many different things. And each stage when I thought that, okay, this is it, I'm more confident in my life, in my identity, I was just lost. I was still lost. And then even when I migrated to America, I'm like, yes, this is it for me again. Because America now, it kind of shifted. Like, I used to get teased for being skinny while in Jamaica, but when I moved to America, it was a whole different thing. Now everybody was like, wow, you're skinny, I love it. And it was so strange for me. And so I still thought, okay, maybe I can identify with this society and fit in, because now everybody's is not so much with how I look. And but then I still felt lost. It was just, you know, back and forth, like, where do I fit in? You know, what's going on? And so it was just a story about years of that. And then finally, just at one point in my life, I just like, you know what? I really don't care what people think anymore. I got to that point. I'm like, I don't care if I'm skinny. I don't care, you know? It's like, I don't. So when I got to that point, that's when like a lot of this identity thing just kind of fell off, and I really just didn't care. So then, and on top of it, I chose pharmacy because, of course, I'm like, wow, another thing, if I choose pharmacy, it's going to make me invincible. Like, I have this prestigious career, doctoral degree, and, you know, nobody's going to even care if I'm skinny anymore. So let me do that, you know? And so that's what I did. So that too. And then, so after that, it was just like, okay, I don't care anymore. Now I have this pharmacist degree, and then I had it. I had I call it the white picket fence, the house, the career, the kids, and everything, and I still was lost. And then that's when I really had to take a break, and I call it like the pause or the break, because I just needed that pause in my life to just like stop everything and just focus on what I wanted to see for myself and what my passions, my goals, and my mission was. So that's when I took that journey with God. And you know, for some time, many would call it the wilderness period. And I call it the wilderness period because it's that period where like everything is so dry. There's no life. No water, no life, nothing happening. Like I had a period where there's just nothing, like nothing happening. But the beauty of this time that I spent in the wilderness period, it was actually to help me to kind of understand why I was here, what my purpose or mission was, and then how I could use that to move forward and, you know, kind of help others to do the same. So that's what happened around that period. So the entire book talks about that. And then it kind of shows in the end, you know, it kind of models a story for others to say, okay, this was what happened in my life, and you can use my example and kind of go on your own personal journey and to try to rediscover who you are and who God called you to be, and then, you know, use that to kind of, you know, start again if you have to, or find your own path and your own destiny.
I love it, Donae, and it's important that you said all of that, because I know that there's somebody that's listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I can so relate, because you know, I'm in this funk right now, and I'm gonna call it a funk when you just don't know, okay, how to move forward. You just need clarity in that, you know, and clarity on what new path to take. And so you know, throughout our conversation, you kept saying, you know, I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to fit in. And then you mask, you know, wanting to fit in with all these things. When after a career, right, that you thought that would make you sort of invincible, to use your words, because of the prestige of it, the status, you know, all of that. It's great. But what would you say to that person who's listening right now, who's feeling how you felt? What tools can you provide for them, and what type of strategies, if you have any, that has worked for you, that you can also share with that person?
Okay, so first and foremost, I would say you just have to understand understanding who you are is key. Like, you just need that time to understand who you are, and try to live in your God-given purpose and destiny. So that's the actual first step, is just rediscovering who you are. And that's why the book is I Am Who God Said I Am, because it's rediscovering who God, you know, had called you to be, what your initial purpose was, and you just going on that journey to try to rediscover that for yourself. And then the next strategy I would say, I call it, I don't know if I'm giving out hints to another book, but I call it I Am Unbreakable. And I'll explain I Am Unbreakable because this step or strategy, this was the toughest for me, and kind of still the hardest to get away from, because this is the reason why. When you decide that you want to start walking in your purpose and destiny, like, everyone will have an opinion. Everyone will have an opinion. And it's tough because you're responding to your family and friends about what you decide you want to do with your life. And sometimes it kind of like it leaves a little bit of, some may leave, some may leave, others may resent you, and there's some that think, wait, you just have a doctoral degree, you are crazy, what are you doing? You're leaving this image behind to be a writer or blogger, what's that? And it can become life altering for you, and the only way it will be life altering for you is if you allow it to, if you allow it to get to you. So this is what I'm calling the I am unbreakable. You have to build that confidence, and in your walk with God, and say, you know what? I'm not going to give up on this. This is truly what I want to do. And just knowing your truth and just being confident, regardless of what anybody thinks about you, you're just going to walk in that role. So that's how I said I had to become unbreakable. So that means I wasn't consumed too much with anybody's opinion of my decision, to leave a life and that career behind. So that's another thing you have to, And another thing is I am unstoppable. So I am unstoppable. So after moving those, past those tough decision-making areas in your life, and, finally breaking free to kind of choose what God wants you to do, it was then I just picked up momentum. I really just picked up momentum and then started working at it full force. And then I said, at that point, I'm going to put blinders on. And blinders, the horse where you just kind of you kind of have just channel vision where you just focus on your mission, your purpose, and your calling. So those are the three things I would encourage everybody, if you're going on a new path. First and foremost, know who you are. Secondly, try to become confident in your walk. And that's what I call the I am unbreakable stage. And then after that, nothing can stop you. You just start getting momentum. God just start opening doors for you, and everything just start moving into full swing. So that's the third part.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And those are hashtag gems, as we call them here in the Your Purpose and Business podcast. You definitely want to share this podcast with anyone that you know that would definitely want to learn how it is that they can pivot in their career and life, right? And so Donae, a follow-up question for you. What did that pivot look like? Because a lot of times people will see people making changes in their life, transforming their life, right? And so when it comes on to changing a career or changing anything, but we're speaking to your career, how did that pivot play out for you? Did you put things in place before you decided to say, okay, this is going to be my resignation letter, this is going to be the date, I should say, when I send in my resignation letter? Did you prepare? For most people, probably financially, for some people maybe got a side hustle, for other people they just discussed it with their loved one, whatever it is that you want to share to help that person, because a lot of times change is great. It takes a lot of confidence, but how do you also prepare to make that pivot? Does that question make sense?
Yes. So interestingly, my preparation, I'll be honest, I wrote my resignation letter for the career I was in. It was first and foremost, pharmacy, I was in a toxic environment. I have bounced from pharmacy, I would say, from different avenues of pharmacy, from retail. I worked in every aspect of pharmacy. When I left New York, I was working in New York as a retail pharmacist, and that was tough. And then I moved here and I worked in long-term care, thinking it's better for your family and everything. That was even tougher. So every time I bounced it, I went from job to job, and every time I tried to say, okay, this one's better and that one is better, it was just the same thing. And so the last job that I stayed the longest, which was for 3 years, and it was the most toxic work situation, the most, difficult environment. And I just felt like I wanted to help people by doing pharmacy, but I wasn't getting that. I felt like I was more hurting them than actually helping them, because corporate demanded so much, of filling more prescriptions per hour, which increases the risk of fatality, like giving patients the wrong medication. Because I couldn't put my mind around, you want me to verify at minimum, let's say 60 scripts in an hour, and make sure everything is correct and you're not going to kill somebody, but you're doing it because of corporate greed. So I was like stuck behind, Lord, this is tough, because I'm in this position where I feel like I'm gonna hurt more people than actually help them. So when I had that breaking moment that I just desperately wanted to leave, and I literally wrote my resignation letter 2 years before I quit. So,
wow.
But the thing that holds a lot of us back is, I would say, it's monetary concerns, to be honest, because if you didn't have that, you're like, oh, I'm getting up, I'm out.
Right.
But student loan, monetary, you still have this lifestyle, you still have this home or everything, that you have to continue paying for. And that got me stuck. Like I couldn't move, but I was miserable the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to God, okay, Lord, I can't move, but what do you want me to do? Like, I'm stuck here. My husband still thinks, just keep going, until, just keep going with it, hang in there. So I hung in there, but I got to the point where I'm like, God, I can't do this anymore. I need to get out of it. And literally, it wasn't not even long after, like, I got fired. I got fired because a medication, which of course, of the pressure and everything, a medication it didn't leave the pharmacy, but I had dispensed the wrong medication. And so they caught it, and then they're like, oh, well, you dispensed it, and it could have been fatal or whatever, so we have to let you go. So I said, that's okay. And I peacefully left. And I'll be honest with you, when I was leaving, I got in my car, I was crying tears of joy. You would think I would be crying, oh my God, I lost a job. I have this, everything going on. But I was crying because I just hadn't, you just get to that point where I just didn't care anymore. Mm-hmm. I just didn't care anymore. Mm-hmm. And I was finally free from it. Mm-hmm. And I was like literally just crying tears of joy.
And that was a confirmation too, because you know that, this is not what I wanted to do anymore. So it was a confirmation for you to, okay, yes, God, I'm listening now. Sometimes
I'm listening now, it's serious.
Yes.
So that's what happened. Like I just believe, like, you know what? When we try to hold on to things when he's telling us, it's time to go. And we're like, no, let's hold on a little bit more. And then when he let us go, it's like, okay, Lord, what now? You let me go. And, we still try to fight him with it. So after that pause or everything, I knew, in my heart, I was at peace. Like when peace just comes on you, it's like, you know what? You're in the right step. You're in the right direction. It was meant to be. And the other thing is that people always try to, okay, let's go back and find the next best thing in pharmacy, or, but every application I put up for another opportunity, another job, the door remained closed for a long time. And then that was when I was like, okay, Lord, you're right. Okay. I'm finished, I'm done. This career is over. This is not what you want me to do. Help me to rediscover, who you call me to be, and let me move in that role, in that direction.
Wow, wow. What an amazing story. I mean, no, you're a living testimony or testament to the fact that you know what, definitely rely on God, call on God, ask him what is it that he desires for your life. And pharmacy for you here in your story was just a season for you, because there is so much more that he has placed on you to do and to become, in this world, and to touch more lives. I mean, I think that one of the reasons, and it sounds like one of the reasons why you went into pharmacy, is to help. You wanted to help people. But lo and behold, now you're helping even more people through your book, because that book that you have written, Donae, will be able to touch so many more lives, believe that or not. And
Yeah.
also you're blogging as well. So sometimes it is that God has to shut one door tight, very close, so that you will never return. I truly believe that in order to elevate you to the next level, to the next season of the life that he wants you to have, in order to carry out the duties that he has placed within you, which we're calling your purpose, right? And
Yes.
so truly I know that this conversation with you has impacted so many of the listeners already. And so I definitely want you, Donae, to just speak a little bit about you know um personally, on a personal level, what are some of the maybe routine, or probably a ritual, or anything that you do for yourself that keeps you grounded, because you're in a new space and you're changing and you're learning and you're growing and you're expanding, right? But how do you center yourself each day, and also put in routines into place, so to speak, so that you can get through your days in order to pursue this bigger vision, this bigger mission on your life?
Okay. So for me, I'm a big fan of self-care,
Mhm.
and I even like blog a lot about self-care, and on my on my mommy to be and beyond blog, because I do believe, like, a lot of the times we think that self-care is being selfish,
Mm.
but I'm trying to say no, it's not. So for me, I make sure to put self-care as, the most important, because at the end of the day, you have to have that mental health
Mhm.
and stability in order to do, your different career roles, job, motherhood, everything. You really have to have that.
Mhm.
So my self-care, I do put it first. And then when I am in that what I would say, when I'm confident in that area, or I'm better in that area, then I'm able to help my kids more, and I'm able to help do my work and everything else. So how I do it, for me, journaling is my, and it's funny again because I journaled for years, but I didn't really I didn't really put it towards me be, loving writing. So for me, journaling is definitely my thing.
Mhm.
And so in the mornings, I get up, and before the kids are up, before anything, I have my time.
Mhm.
So my time in the morning, I get up and I journal, and I just read my Bible and journal, and pray, and that sort of thing. And I kind of write to God, right back and forth, like a love letter to God in the morning. That's how I do it. And then after that, it's just like, having to do the motherhood part, dropping kids at school and everything. And then my day goes well, because I'm in that frame of mind where I'm just like at peace, I'm confident, and then I can do everything else, for the rest of the day. So I definitely am a big, big, big fan of just self-care, taking that time off, knowing your boundaries, knowing your limits,
Big one,
and
yeah.
yeah, and actually, you know, making sure you're okay, and your mind and everything is okay. And I've been through depressive moments, depression, especially, with the last job. I never really took time for myself when I was in pharmacy. Like, I had no time actually. It's just as soon as you finish that career, it's just monotony. As soon as you finish that, you have to go and take care of kids. And then it's just this. So I was more like depressive in that time of my life. And then, now I'm like, I can't go through that anymore. I have to make sure I'm mentally okay. Everything is, of me is fine. And then I'm able to, confidently help others, help other women and help my children and help my, so definitely number one, self-care, self-care, self-care.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And so, Donae, it's just been a pleasure to have you on here. Just share with us how the audience can get in touch with you. Tell us about your website, your social media platforms, please.
I'm on all major platforms. You can find me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Pinterest and Twitter, and I'm under the brand Mommy to Be and Beyond, which is my website that I built around parenting. And I also recently started a Facebook group called Life Lived in Purpose. And it's pretty much to just help others to rediscover their own lives and to find their own purpose and identity. And I also just started an Instagram page as well to kind of I like to do quotes. I love writing quotes. That's another thing. I love writing quotes. So I kind of write these little life purpose quotes so that it kind of will help people to ponder on some thoughts and it kind of will help them to also rediscover their own lives and to find their own purpose as well. So that's another thing I wanted to start as well, to kind of help, people who, you feel to get unstuck, like you feel you're at this certain point and you just want to move on, but you don't know how to get there, or you don't know if you're in purpose or not in purpose. So I kind of have these little quotes and things that kind of, help for other people to kind of ponder on, to motivate and help them to, get on the right road.
Yes. And where can we find your book?
Oh, my book it's actually on Amazon and all the other major brand book retailers. So I have it on Barnes and Nobles, I have it on Kobo, and I have it on Google, I pretty much all the other book retailers, they're there.
Awesome. And currently, are you working on any projects that you're soon to be released, or inviting anyone to come over to your Facebook group? Is it open? Is it closed? Share with us how persons can get immediate access to you.
Oh no, it's you can find me just looking for Life Lived in Purpose, or you can find me under the Mommy to Be and Beyond. It's there as well. If you go to that page, you can look under the group section. I'm not sure if anybody has any difficulties trying to find it, but just looking up Life Lived in Purpose, it's there. And I also write about it on my Mommy to Be and Beyond page as well. So, but if there's any issues or problems, you can always email me, mommytobeyondbeyond@gmail.com.
Yeah, and don't worry, guys. All her links will be available in the show notes for you to grab for easy access. And so before I let you go, Donae, share with the audience one last thing that has helped you, whether that be a mantra, a scripture. What is that thing that you constantly find your mind going back to keep you grounded and also to get you through probably tough or challenging days?
Always remember, I am who God says I am.
Right.
That's my mantra. It's like, I am who God says I am. And I'm just confident in that, and then I will do what God says I will do. It's kind of having that just knowing who you are and just being confident in that. That's my mantra.
Yeah.
And then my third is, I can do all things through Christ who give me the strength, because whenever, even for this, and I'm like, Lord, I don't know if I can do this. It's always like you're reminded, I I can do all things through Christ who gives me the
Who
strength.
strengthens me. I love it. I love it. Again, Ms. Donae, thank you so much for being on the Your Purpose and Business podcast. It has been a pleasure. And guys, remember, always be good to yourself, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. If you've loved this episode, let's stay in touch. Head over to RaquelWalters.com and subscribe to my email list so that I can send you updates on new episodes, exclusive motivational nuggets, and insider knowledge that's only shared when you join our community. Please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and leave a review, as I want to know your thoughts about every episode. Follow me on Instagram at Your Purpose and Business Podcast. And remember, your life is beautiful, and this is a part of your journey. So embrace it. Speak to you soon.